If you're looking for best practices for your bank or credit union, join us while we talk all things sales, marketing, and strategy for financial institutions. Let's make it happen with FiGrow Solutions.
Hi there, I'm Meredith Olmstead, CEO and founder of FiGrow Solutions. We are a digital marketing and sales consulting agency, and we work exclusively with credit unions and community banks. And I am here with one of our clients. This is a guest podcast, if you will. So I have Christin Vaughn here with us. She is the CMO of Allegiance Credit Union in Oklahoma City. Say hi, Christin.
Hi.
And so I was recently talking with a team member, and we were talking about podcast topics, and we were thinking about Allegiance and specifically around their dual brand approach for serving the Hispanic community in the Oklahoma City area. And so I was like, I think this is worth, hitting record, asking Christin to join us and talking a little bit about her experience as she was driving this approach to their branding. So just a little high level, Christin, tell the listeners what it is that you all did.
Yeah. So it's hard to encapsulate 6-7 years of work into a short podcast recording, but ultimately, at our credit union, we're Allegiance Credit Union here in Oklahoma City. We serve about 8 counties in the Oklahoma City metro area. And we realized in 2019, 2020, we had employees that were telling us that their own family members couldn't bank with us. And that really started the conversation because they were, they had ITINs, individual taxpayer identification numbers. And so it really started the conversation of, are we really serving the community? And is there a need there? And then, through a lot of research and, realizing that, nearly 22% of our population is Hispanic or Latino, and 57% of our largest public school district is Hispanic or Latino. So obviously this is a very growing community. And so we really just knew, there's a need here that's not being met. And so just started a long process of getting involved in the community, asking questions. We hired a nonprofit group to do some community organizing and with, local community members, whether they were business owners or teachers or, just really hearing from them what is missing in the current financial services landscape and
Gotcha.
How can we better serve?
Okay. So you did a lot of groundwork and laid the groundwork and really talking with your community and with the community there that you all were trying to serve. And you decided to create 2 distinct brands. So you have Allegiance Credit Union, and then you have Alianza, which is the Spanish brand, sub-brand that serves the Spanish community. And so talk to me a little bit about why did you decide to create a whole new sub-brand versus just doing translation services that were more, robust?
Yeah. So through that community organizing and actually asking those in the community, what's missing? What do you need? We really determined that we didn't want to just go the route of putting an Allegiance branch in the part of town that has our largest, Hispanic population and just throw up some signs in Spanish and say, we're good, that we wanted this to say this was built for and by the Latino community. And so we had seen a few others, not very common, but a couple of, we're not the first, a couple of other credit unions in other states had done something similar with different communities. And so that kind of gave us the idea of what if we did this sub brand that when you see it, that truly is built for me, that it's not just another financial institution with a couple of Spanish flyers or something like that.
Yeah.
That it really speaks that they know me, that's my neighbor, that's my, that's my community. And so just making the 2 brands felt like the best way to really differentiate ourselves and how we went about this, and that the community was a part of it. They picked the name, the community organizing group did. They picked the branding and the colors. They were instrumental in we didn't lead that, they did. And so just really, because again, I don't have the lived experience to speak for that community. And so we just really tried to be more hands off. And I mean, we already had quite a few bilingual employees here, but we
Hmm.
really prioritized hiring even more bilingual employees that spoke Spanish, since that was the particular demographic that, we have a large population of here in Oklahoma City. And so, we leaned on our own employees that are a part of
Hmm.
that community, and then also out, people who never heard of Allegiance Credit Union to get their feedback on what was missing and, what their hopes and dreams and financial goals were. And really,
Yeah.
we determined there's a huge lack in trust in the US financial banking systems. And they just
Hmm.
don't, and they maybe came from a country where there was a lot of mistrust in their government
Hmm.
and financial banking systems and stuff like that. So we really just, we uncovered a lot of stuff in that process and
Got
then
it.
really
And
felt
then,
the route.
and really trying to build trust. So a couple of things that that you mentioned that I was kind of surprised. Like,
Mhm.
so it was always a goal that you were working towards a Spanish speaking branch for that new brand. So
Yeah.
that's pretty amazing. So now you have like a
I mean,
fully,
once we saw there was a need, kind of started with just like, is there a
yeah,
need for this? We determined very quickly there is. And so then it was like, we know ultimately we need a branch. This can't just be an online presence.
right.
So yeah.
So you now have an Alianza brand, chiefly branded Alianza
Mhm.
branch. And that's located like kind of centrally to where a lot of these populations that you're serving are. And then you also said there's something that evolved over time was that you have reintroduced a little bit more, obviously the Allegiance brand
Mhm.
alongside it to make it because of to help build trust and continue to
Mhm.
build trust in the institution.
Yeah, I would definitely say that's the biggest lesson I mean, we definitely haven't gotten it all right. Like everything we did was perfect. There's learning lessons
Yeah.
elsewhere too. But the biggest one that we noticed, and from a marketing perspective, was while we originally set out being like, oh, this has to be totally different. Again, it has to totally be Alianza on its own, like total, almost like its own credit union to really speak to this community. And then
Yeah.
now that we've been open for over a year, we realize actually there's a lot of value in putting Allegiance's name behind it. I mean, and we knew it would have to be a blend because when you bank at Alianza, you are a member of Allegiance Credit Union. So there's obviously some compliance related
Of
things that
course.
members
Yeah.
have to understand that, the NCUA is only covering insurance for they can't have one at Alianza and one at Allegiance. We're the
Got
same
it.
organization.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that was always a part of it. But just from a marketing perspective, we really thought Alianza would stand on its own. And then we realized, just one specific example where this was put into place is originally the building only had Alianza branding and POR, which means buy in Spanish. Its name is Alianza POR Allegiance Credit Union. So that is on the building, but it's like very small, like a byline to a big Alianza. And about 6, 7 months into having the branch, we realized from the staff talking to us about their conversations in branch that there would be value in putting Allegiance's logo on there and saying since 1963 so that it conveyed the message that we're not brand new, we're not a fly-by-night company. Like this is, an
Yeah.
organization that's established. And so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
been one of the
Well, I
biggest.
mean, it's a bank. You don't
Mhm.
want to, nobody wants to put their money in a brand new bank
Yeah,
account with a
they
brand
think
new
open
bank.
2 months ago. You're
Right.
like,
Right.
no,
Right.
we've been
Right.
around. This is just a new
Right.
sub brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. So, last thing I think that I'm curious about, I mean, well, like you definitely went through this in a slow, methodical way and led like chiefly by
Mhm.
community organization or by
Mhm.
community organizers who were like, so it was a very authentic
Mhm.
evolving process and it was
Mhm.
slow. So I think that's something that, like, in terms of mistakes to
Mhm.
avoid, you don't want to jump into something and you don't want to pretend like you have all the answers when you absolutely
Mhm.
don't. But how's business?
Really great. So the branch opened. So we actually launched a website for Alianza with you
Hmm.
guys, in 2023. We kind of got our digital stuff in place, ahead of
Hmm.
time. But then the branch itself opened in spring of 2025. And last year, Alianza accounted for over 50% of Allegiance's new membership growth, despite only
Wow.
being open 9 months of the year. So really showed, that the need was there. And, it did so well in its first year that we've already got board approval and are working on. So we went into a modular building to like be able to hit
Mm,
the ground running and start serving the
right.
community. And it's been such a great response that now we're
Oh, like
working
getting
on
a permanent
building. Yeah, like
building.
we've already hired a contractor and everything. And like we're in the, working on the build for the permanent brick and mortar,
Nice.
so that, we didn't know we thought it could maybe take a couple of years till we'd be able to get to that point. But 1 year in and we're like, no, like we're there, let's do it. We're committed. We're not going anywhere. The community's not going anywhere. And so we
Yeah.
are really excited that we're in like the official now like branch build for
Yeah.
Alianza.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Christin, thank you so much for your insight. I know that it was a massive labor of love for you for, many, many
For our
years. So
whole team. Yeah.
yeah. And so I appreciate you. Well, and across the entire organization, honestly,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
that's also a testament to, mistakes to avoid
Mhm.
is really making sure that everyone
Yes.
is invested, is bought in, has a
Mhm.
voice in the process.
It's not
So,
just a marketing initiative.
right,
That's something
right.
that I really try to tell people. Like this has to
Yeah.
be an organization-wide goal, strategic
Yeah,
initiative,
because
objective,
you
whatever
have to
you
have
want to call
products and
it. Yeah.
services that are
Hmm.
created for
Hmm.
these communities,
Hmm. You
and
have to have
they
the
have to,
staffing. You have to,
yeah.
yeah, you have to change your,
So
yeah, policies and procedures. Yeah, that this isn't just a marketing
yeah,
initiative. Mhm.
awesome. Well, thank you so much. This
Of
was
course.
super, super
Mhm.
informative and useful. I hope that you all learned something about, serving underserved communities in an authentic and, really like meaningful way that that's, lasting and can have a real impact. If you want to learn more about marketing for your credit union or community bank, please visit us at figrow.com. We have lots of other podcasts, case studies, blogs. So lots of resources there for you all. And otherwise, let's just all get out there and make it happen.